Let me ask a question about this. I love what you said, especially, number one, you're a wordsmith, you're a linguist, no doubt. I mean,
I don't know English yet, bro.
Yeah,
I'm practicing.
You're still working on your
practicing.
English. You know, you've got the kickboxing belts all up over here. I would argue, I've never seen you fight, but I would argue that your linguistic skills are better than your fighting skills. I'll let you judge that.
I'll take that.
I totally agree with you that the way that you speak to a man is way different than the way you talk to a woman.
Yeah.
You can tell a guy, you're a loser, get your fat ass in the gym, and a guy would be receptive to that. So I can't tell you how many men come up to Pat, dude, what was Andrew Tate like? What was Tate like? Tell me about Tate. Tell me a Tate story. Dude, that guy's so cool. He's such a badass. And I'm sure you've seen the women that react to your videos. Fuck you, Andrew Tate. You've seen these. But when you sit around these women and you go to podcasts with these women, by the end of the podcast, these women love you.
Yeah, they're all nice to me.
So what I want you to do is sell the women for a second. Because it's easy to sell the men. Like, for instance, I had a girl one time. Took her out on a date. Great time. Dinner. This, that, the other. Treated her royally. That night, she says, I had him such a great night. Look forward to seeing you again. Yada, yada, yada. The next day I wake up. The first text I get from her is, so you fuck with Tate? I'm like, what are you talking about? Can't believe you would associate with such a guy. I'm like, what? I look at you totally differently. I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I treated you nicely. I treated you royally.
Yeah.
You had a great time. 99% of men, I don't think I'm being bombastic here, totally appreciate what you're saying.
Yep.
I think you said 40% of your audience is women.
Yep.
What can you do to win over the 60% of women who are like, fuck Tate, sell me on that?
Well, you know what's interesting? I would argue it's far less than 60%. In my experience, I've yet to meet a female who doesn't like me, ever. Maybe they say they don't like me on the internet, but when I meet them, everybody is nice to me. I've never had a single woman come up to me and say, you say bad things about women, ever. I think that men and women have very different mental models because if we reference back to what we said earlier about testosterone, in general, women are not capable of combat, so they're more likely to accept an idea or an ideal because they can't fight and resist that idea. Think about it, right? If a woman joins a new clan or a new tribe or a new society, she can't resist the ideas of that society very easily because she hasn't got the physical capability to combat, to fight. So she has to more likely assimilate. And I think that we even evolved for this to happen. I think when a woman went into another tribe, they evolved it. I think even if you look at World War II, by the end, after 3 years of German occupation, all the French women were the German soldiers. They literally killed your husband. But you just assimilate with the new power structures, right? So women to a degree, and this is not misogynistic, this is just, obviously exceptions do exist. This is just a generalized point. Women, to a degree, are more likely to go along with the flow, the ebbs and flows of the ideas they are told, because they're less likely to combat them and fight against them. And you'll see this especially in women who say they're reborn, or women who say, oh, I'm religious now, or I regret what I did when I was young. Why'd you do it? Oh, everyone was doing it, peer pressure, music videos, I was told that's how I was supposed to act. They just went with the flow. So I think that, especially when it comes to dating and women in the world today, I think that there's two major influences on a female's mind, and one of them is society, the matrix as a whole, and the second one is the man she's dating. I think if she was dating you long enough, if she was dating you a little bit longer, she would have already intrinsically changed her mind. I think every man knows what I'm saying is true. If you date a woman for a few months, by the end, your favorite song is her favorite song. Your interests are her interests. Your favorite car is her favorite car. Your
favorite team is definitely her favorite team at that point.
That's how it goes, right?
Yep.
So, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about being in a relationship. I absolutely love when my woman pretends to care about cars. She doesn't have a fucking clue. She doesn't care. She just, wow, this one's purple. Yeah, it's purple. Get in. I love this one. Because she knows I care, so she pretends to care. That's part of the beauty of it all, right? So I think women have two major, all of us, all people, men as well, have two major impacts on their mind. We have the matrix trying to tell us certain things, and then we have our partner or peer pressure trying to tell us other things. But I think men have a more natural inclination, especially if you're an alpha male, to resist and look and think, no, I disagree with that. Women are more likely to go, oh, well, that's what was said. So I've never met any woman who disagrees with me. I've yet to meet them. Maybe they exist in Miami. I look forward to going and meeting them myself. I would guarantee I could sit on any panel of women who disagree with me, and by the end of it, they wouldn't disagree with me because they would understand my ideas better after I've explained to them. And I would explain to them in a way that make them understand it. And by the end of it, I guarantee, like every other podcast I've ever done, by the end, every girl sitting there who disagreed with me at the beginning is saying, he's right, he's right. Watch Fresh and Fit, watch it. By the end of it, they're all like, well, he is right every single time. So it's just about a matter of communication. But Women certainly have adopted a lot of the matrix ideals, even more than most men. And I think that's just because of the biology. I think it's a difference in biologies. And that's really scary, right? Because like I said, it's a race to the bottom. If they can poison all of one gender, then they can poison all of the other. That's how they do it, because there's no point in being moral in a rigged game. So yeah, it's difficult, especially in the Western world, because Western women have a particular degree of psyop that's being purported upon them that they don't have in other places. Eastern European women don't believe being a slut is a good way to act. They know that's wrong. They know it's because they're more religious and they're more family orientated. Let's take this country. Romania locked me up, but I lived here for a reason, right? We can discuss the case and what happened to me, and I can be upset about it, but I am not the kind of person who is too emotional to be professional. And as a professional, I can remove my emotions and look at things logically. We're in one of the poorest countries in the world, which is safer than America in every single possible metric you can measure. All of them. How do they do that? They do that with a very strict legal system. That's how they do things. When I was in jail, a boy walked in. I said, "Why are you in jail?" He goes, "I was looking in a car window." Might have broke in, might have not. Looked in the window, jail. 2 weeks, sitting in the cell. Will he look in windows anymore? Will he break into a car? Doubt it. They have a very strict legal system. So whatever they do with their very limited resources works to keep the place extremely safe, right? Another reason I lived here is because it's extremely religious, one of the most Christian countries in the world. Another reason I lived here is because family values are so strong. I've been on dates with 26-year-old women who had to be home at 10 o'clock because their dad said so. I've been on dates with 27-year-old women who said, "I can't go to that restaurant, people might see me, we're not married, I can't be seen with you there." All that exists here still. They don't have the matrix-minded propaganda yet, which is instilled inside of Western women, which make them believe that somehow acting in a degenerate fashion is going to lead to anything but unhappiness. And most women who have lived degenerately, if you speak to them on a long enough time frame, it may take them a while, but as they grow older, they always say, "I wish I didn't do that," in the end. Because all of us are born with a baseline morality, and we all know what's truly good and what's truly bad. So the Western woman is under a hard psyop. And this is another thing, if you're a man and you have a relationship and you're in the Western world, I would understand that there are two forces at play for her mind. There's your influence, and if you truly love her, you want the best for her, and to make her the best self, she has to be her best self for you because you're a team, and you have the matrix telling her to ignore everything you've ever said, and everything you say is misogynistic and evil and wrong because you have any kind of standards. So I know I'm going to get canceled and they're all going to say bad things about me. If I walked in and my girlfriend was watching Sex and the City, I'd say turn that off. Why? Because it's garbage. It's garbage that's bad for your mind. There's unlimited things you can watch. You're not watching that. Now, I've never had that problem, but that's what I would say. And if she refused, I'd say, "Well, you're not watching that in my house. I'm not mad at you, but I want you to go home. I don't want you watching this stuff. It's bad. It's poison." What should I watch instead? Watch about Stalingrad. How much do you know about Stalingrad? What's Stalingrad? Oh, what's Stalingrad? 200,000 men froze to death in the city in 1943, and you don't even know what happened for your freedom. Men were out there freezing to death with no food to eat, encircled. For your freedom, you don't even know about it. You don't even have enough respect to learn about it, and you're busy watching Samantha? Fuck Samantha, she ain't real. This is real. Men went and died for real. They were sitting in Stalingrad. You're the Germans, you attack Stalingrad. You have nearly all of the city, but maybe 2% of it. Zhukov counterattacks, encircles you, and they're blasting from speakers for months as you starve to death. You are here to die. You will never see Germany again. You are going to die here. Paulus, the commander, kept asking Hitler, "Can I make a breakout? Can I leave?" Hitler said, "No, fight to the last bullet. You're there to die. The Russians know it, you know it. You have no food, you're freezing to death. And you're sitting there for your ideological cause, and the women of today don't even bother to read the Wikipedia page. They're busy. Samantha's on. No, you don't have time for Sex in the City. You can learn a lot about sacrifice. We'll learn about female sacrifice and masculine sacrifice. But I'm telling you that's not going to be out of my house because you don't know enough about Stalingrad. When you know everything about Stalingrad and HMS Hood and the Bismarck, when you have World War II and World War I completely memorized and you know more than me, you can watch fucking Sex in the City. But until then, you have more important things to learn. That's my creed. That's my house. That's the kind of woman I want. And when I say this, there's women out there who go, "You're crazy," or they're going to attack me on the internet. But tell you what, I've never had a woman I'm with ever disagree with me. Ever. She's like, "Okay." And then we'll sit there and we'll watch a documentary on Stalingrad and she'll go, "You know, it's crazy what men go through. We don't even think about this." It's like, yeah, you're right. You don't think about the fact that right now, as we speak, 5 hours drive away in Ukraine, there are men dying in a ditch because they're not allowed to leave the country by law, and all the women have moved to Warsaw. And they're sitting in safety. Every single military age man is dying in the mud. Who gives a shit? Nobody. Who cares? No one. Their women probably have new men by now. It's hard being a man. Masculine struggle should be respected by all genders, male and female. The more we respect masculine struggle, the better the world's going to be as a whole. So yeah, especially if you're a man in a relationship in the Western world, you have to be very careful what psyop is going into your woman's mind. Another thing, this goes down to complete basics. I've had girlfriends before. If you're going to complain about our relationship or complain about me to your friends, we may as well just break up now. Because you're just going to complain about negative shit about me to them. And then you're not going to mention me for 3 months, and you're going to complain about the next argument. And over a year, all they're going to hear are these arguments. None of the good stuff in between, none of the smiles, none of the holding hands, none of the kisses, none of the hellos, none of the times you made me a coffee and we hugged, none of the good stuff, just the bad stuff. And she's going to be a negative force in your ear, and you're going to go out with her, and she's running her mouth in your ear. You're listening to her. She hasn't even got a stable relationship. I don't know why she has any opinion, because she's miserable. Like, what is all this garbage? You have to protect the minds of the people you care about and love. I protect the minds of my children and the woman I love. That does not make me a misogynist. I don't care what they try and say about me. I'm not a misogynist. I just care about the people I love, and I want the absolute best for them. And I want them to understand me and me to understand them, and us all to understand struggle and the values of the creed and the values of the last name and do our best for each other. That makes me a bad person in the modern world. But to answer your question, if she was with you longer, she would have changed her mind.
I was with her one night. Let me ask you a follow-up question, because I think you bring up such a good point. Women of the West versus women that you've been associating with in Eastern Europe, and the sexual liberation and the feminization and everything that goes on in the West. One of the biggest comedians in the West is a woman called Chelsea Handler. You know who this is?
I've heard her name. I know her face.
You talk about Samantha from Sex and the City. She is the epitome of that. She's pushing 50. She talks about she doesn't need no man. She doesn't need no kids. She's happy by herself. She's drinking alcohol, chugging vodka, taking pills, masturbating all day. And that's her life. That's her ideal life. And she's encouraging women to be that. You might not know who she is, but you have a framework of who she is.
Yeah.
Thoughts on women that go down that path? And then who is that woman of Eastern Europe? Is there anyone in Eastern Europe pushing that agenda here where you live?
Zero. Literally, genuinely zero. None. If you're a man and you're dating in Eastern Europe, the biggest problem you're going to have is that every single woman you're dating is going to want kids within about a month.
In a month?
About that. If you're a man, and especially if you have some money, and not because they're gold diggers, because you're a man, you have to take care of them. If you're a man and you can take care of her, and she knows you can pay the bills, and you've been dating her for a month, and things are going well, she's going to start saying, when are we having kids? That's her goal. Her goal is to find a rich man who's going to give her children, not because she's a gold digger, because she wants a family, and she wants to be taken care of, and that's what she wants. Completely different motivations than the West. When you talk about women who look up to Chelsea Handler, that's because they don't have an equal and opposite force. This is how we save the world. By making men worthy of respect. A woman like that, if she dates a man, unless she respects that man, she's not going to adopt that man's creeds. So you need to make a man worthy of respect. So when she's listening to Chelsea Handler garbage, hopefully he gets her early enough and her life's not completely ruined, and she meets a man of quality who she respects, who says that's not the correct way to live, and she goes, you know what? I love you. If you don't think that's the correct way to live, I'm going to try living your way. And they'll naturally incline to that. I'm going to make sure this argument isn't gendered before I get attacked for being a misogynist, because this happens with other genders too. This happens with men. If you take one lazy idiot and put him around 5 killers, he'll either improve or leave. It's one of the two. He's not going to stay the same and stay part of the group. That's peer pressure. That's how it works.
The best kind of pressure.
It's the best kind of pressure.
Positive peer pressure.
Absolutely. So it's the same with everybody. Everybody influences everyone. And a lot of these women, the reason they follow these paths and do this destructive stuff is because they don't meet a man they respect enough who can put them on the right path and save them. And save them. I would like to think there's women who I'm no longer with, and I'm not going to give any details of because I don't kiss and tell. There are women whose lives I saved. And I will say that. There's women who I met in a nightclub, and they got with me for a few years, and they weren't clubbing anymore. They stopped all that crap. I'm not talking to them stupid girls who are doing that stupid junk. Nothing. They were a good girlfriend to me. We broke up. Then they met their next man. Now they're married. Moved on. I would argue that if I left them in the club scene, they would not be married right now. They would certainly not be happy. Not like they are now. I literally saved their lives by just saying, there's more to life than that garbage.